Hey guys, Sean from Bantam Overland. On today's video, we're going to be installing brand new headlights and fog lights into our 2017 Jeep Wrangler JK. We're going to be doing the Morimoto Super7 bi-LED headlights, and then we're going to do the Morimoto 4-banger in white SAE with the wide dispersion. We're going to also show you how to install them into the factory fit kit for the Jeep JK. The Super 7 headlights are modular, so you can completely customize them by taking them apart, having your painter paint them, powder coat them, do whatever you would like to customize them to your Jeep. As well as the fog lights, you can have them painted or color matched to your Jeep. The fog lights use all OEM mounts with the factory bumper. They are also able to be mounted to most aftermarket bumpers. You may need to do something just a hair different than when mounting to OEM, but they will fit. Adding new headlights and fog lights to your Jeep JK will give you a much better light pattern as well as more light output. The fog lights offer up to 15% higher light output than other traditional SAE aftermarket fog light brands. Let's go over some of the tools that are going to be necessary to complete our installation. We have a T15 Torx that'll be used on the headlights, T10 Torx, 5/32 Allen, some panel removal tools, a 10mm or 3/8 drive, some wire ties, a light, and an impact or screw gun. Now that we've gone over all the tools necessary for our installation, we're going to go ahead and get our new 4-banger fog light kit set up. As you can see, I've already mounted the first one into the kit. You have adjustability on the back side, up and down. So inside your fog light kit will come with all the necessary hardware to get it mounted. It is exactly as OEM with factory holes. So let's go ahead and get our other fog light mounted into the housing, and I'll show you how to do that now. So first, you're going to grab your T10. You will remove the top 2 screws out of the housing, and you'll know it's the top by the 2 lights on the top. So remove the two T10s. Set those bolts aside. You're going to grab this piece here, place it in. Now you can't place it in wrong because it's got 2 notches next to the holes that will line up onto the fog light. Then in your bag, you'll have 2 longer bolts to go in, right back into the top. So go ahead and start those by hand. And then tighten them down. Once you get that tightened down, there'll be a little black plastic plug that will go directly into there. Push it all the way in, listen for that snap. Next we have our actual mounting. Slide in to the mounting. Then we will put our adjustment spring in. It'll drop in and screw into our housing. That will give us our up and down movement for adjustment. And then grab your 5/32 Allen, give it a little bit of a tighten. You'll feel it tightening in. So you can go ahead and tighten it for the most part all the way down. Once we're done with that, we'll take our front cover, place that on, and it will line up directly in there, like so. Place it back down, and then there will be 4 additional T10 screws to screw those in. So just get each one started. The screws are small, so be cautious with them. And the last one in there. Now they're all in, you can go ahead and tighten all 4 of those up. Remember, you are screwing into plastic, so don't over tighten. You'll feel when they're tight. And the last one. Just go over each one, just make sure we're tight. Now that each of them is tight, you can go ahead and plug in your OEM plug. So that will plug the 4-banger fog light directly into the OEM plug. So now that we have our fog lights prepped and ready to install, let's begin the installation by removing the front grille and removing the front blocker plate. And we're going to start with our Super 7 headlights. So to begin our installation process, we're going to open the hood, and then we have 6 retaining clips on the top of the grille to pull the grille off. There's 6 across the top of the grille, so let's grab our panel removal tool and get those taken off. Just remove the tops out of each one first. Sometimes they will come out all together if you're lucky enough. If not, a little bit of a pull up, we'll get them out. And now that our top part of our grill is loose, set our clips to the side, grab gently below, and just a gentle pull will release the bottom clips. Don't pull too far. You're gonna wanna take off your turn signals. You can do that by either pushing the clip back and then pulling out, or if you don't want to do that, you can just turn and remove the entire assembly. Completely up to you, however you want to do that. Same thing for the other side. Now that both our turn signals are removed, we can just slide our grill right off, set that somewhere safe. Now that our grill's removed, we can go ahead and remove our lower blocker plate. The fasteners that are in here will strip out very, very easy. As a matter of fact, I stripped mine out, so you may have to drill these out, but you'll use a Phillips head screwdriver and remove the screw on both sides. There's one on either side. Once you have the retainer clips out, you can kind of wiggle this out. It's not the most fun thing to remove without removing your bumper, but it can be done. And then just slowly wiggle till you get it out. Set that to the side for later. So now we're gonna start removing the trim ring and the 4 T15 bolts that hold the trim ring and the factory light. If you have an aftermarket light already, it should still be there. Process will be exactly the same. So again, there's 4, one here, one here, one down here, and one on the side. You want to be careful not to hit any of the other. Those are adjustments for the headlight itself. Number 1, set that aside. Number 2. Now I will remove the bottom one prior to the last top one so it stays, the light stays in. And then I'll hold the light just so it doesn't fall out on me. So now I have all 4 removed. I can actually take the entire headlight out and unplug it. So to release the headlight, push the red tab to the back, push in and release. Set your factory headlight aside, but keep the trim ring because we're going to use that to install the Morimoto Super7s. Prior to reinstalling the Super7s, your kit will come with the Morimoto canceller. So we're going to plug that back into the factory, making sure we hear that click, locking it, and we're going to hide some of that extra stuff behind everything. And then we're going to grab one wire tie and just secure with a wire tie to the factory wiring. So now all we have is the DIN plug that will connect from the canceller to the Super7 headlight. Now, a couple things to point out on the back of the headlight. You'll notice an arrow that is the top, and you'll also have some protrusions that will go and match into some of the factory ones. So when you're installing them, make sure you have it orientated with the arrow on top when sliding in, and the protrusions matched up towards the factory. Now we have our headlight. We're going to take our DIN plug, match it up. There are 2 arrows on the DIN plug and a line. So you'll plug them in and then screw down the connector so it doesn't come apart. Give it a little tug just to make sure. Go ahead and stick the wire in, and again, making sure that arrow is on the top. Get it sitting in the housing approximately where it's going to go. We're going to take our factory ring, place that back on. Get it lined up where all the holes are still there. And get started with our screwing it back in. You want to keep a hold of that headlight the entire time so it doesn't fall out. So this is something you can definitely do yourself, but if you have a second pair of hands, it never hurts. So we want to make sure that we keep our headlight in position, get our second bolt started, get it almost all the way in, go back to that first bolt, get that almost all the way in as well, so then we don't have to hold it anymore. And then we can go back and get our last 2 in. And our final one down at the bottom. And go back through, just tighten all of them, make sure they're all nice and tight. Make sure you remove the protective covering. So now we've got our passenger side one installed. Just to be safe, I'm going to go ahead, turn it on quick, make sure it works, make sure everything's good, and then we're going to move over to the driver's side. Perfect, it's working. So now we can move to the driver's side and get that one installed. So now moving over to the driver's side, exactly the same as the passenger side. You're going to remove the 4 T15 screws. When you get to that last one, make sure you're holding on to the light so it doesn't just fall out. Break. So all 4 are out. Go ahead and remove. So we will again push back on the red tab, push down, and release. Setting the headlight aside, but keeping the trim ring for the install of our Super 7. Just like on the passenger side, we'll take our canceller, plug it in, hearing that click, locking it down, making sure it doesn't come apart, and then feeding it back into the headlight area. Now, on the driver's side, you'll have the horn directly behind, so you may or may not be able to get a wire tie in there. I should be able to get one in there. And wire tie it to a harness behind. All right, so now I have my DIN cable sticking out. Everything is tied in. Go ahead and grab the headlight. Again, making note of the arrow and the positioning. Finding the arrow, plugging them in, and screwing the cover down. So now we'll get all of our wiring in. There we go. Now we're in. Replace our trim ring and start re-screwing in our T15 Torx while also holding the headlight into position. Again, it's only to make sure it doesn't fall. Once you have two in, it should be good to let the headlight go and get the other two screws back in. And the last one. Now that we have all four screws back in, just go back through them, tighten them all up, making sure they're snug. Remove the protective film, and then go ahead, give that a try. Just make sure they turn on. Perfect. They're both on. Now that both of our Morimoto Super 7 headlights are installed and tested and working, if you've only purchased the headlights, you can skip to the end of this video to get to the reassembly portion. If you've purchased the fog lights as well, we're going to go ahead and get those done next. So to begin the installation of our 4-banger fog lights, we need to remove a couple of things. We're going to start by unplugging the factory fog lights and removing the small pump on the driver's side that's held in by two 10mm or 3/8 bolts. So let's go ahead, get those all removed and get them out of the way. So starting on the passenger side, we're going to remove the plug. Press in is right here to remove. So press it in and remove it. Again, you're just going to press it and pull it out. Move over to the driver's side. Do the same thing. So on the driver's side, press in and remove. Now you'll also notice that there are two Phillips head screws here and here. There are also two on the other side, but prior to removing those, we're going to need to remove the two bolts out of the pump that's on the driver's side. So we're going to go ahead and remove these two bolts. We'll start with the bolt towards the front bumper. Get that removed. It's a long bolt. So remove that one. Now we'll go ahead and go towards the bolt towards the radiator. Get that removed. Once those bolts are removed, you can just slide the pump out of the way, so we'll have more access to our two bolts on our fog light on the driver's side. So go ahead, start removing your 4 Phillips head screws from the back. They are pretty short, so just be careful you don't drop them. So we got one side out, then remove the two on the other side. So now all 4 screws are out of the back of our fog light. You can just reach in, pull it out, and bring it up in between the front bumper and the radiator support to remove. Set that aside, and then we can grab our new 4-banger, making sure that we have our OEM plug plugged in. Go ahead and get that plugged in to the OEM plug. So now we're plugged in, and we can just go in reverse, putting those screws back in. So you'll notice that there are little nubs right here that will line up with the Morimoto Jeep adapters. So once you go in, you will line those up and see how that sits directly on that nub. You'll leave it there and then start placing your screws back in. Now that those 2 are done, we'll get the other side, get them going. Now that all 4 screws are back into our new fog light, we're just going to check it, make sure it works. Perfect. Now that we've checked it, we can move over to our other fog light. Just remembering this is the hardest one to do. It's harder to get into. This one will be a little easier to do, but the same process. Still need to remove all 4 screws and then reinstall the new one with those 4 screws. So let's go ahead and remove the 4 screws holding our passenger side fog light in. So now the second screw, and we'll remove the 3rd screw and the last screw. Now that all 4 screws are out, just pull off the bumper, easily remove the factory fog light. Just as a comparison, your OEM fog light with your brand new 4-banger fog light, you can see perfect match. Now we're ready to go ahead and install our 4-banger fog light kit, making sure that the side with the 2 holes is facing up. We could first start by plugging in our plug into our OEM connector. Plugging in and then placing into our fog light housing. And then we can start putting our 4 screws back in to secure it. Start by getting the first screw started. So our first screw is started. And then go ahead and get the second one in. So we got both our screws started. Go ahead and tighten them up a little bit. And get that one tight. We move over to the other side. Now that all the bolts are back in to our brand new fog lights, we're going to go ahead, give them a check, make sure they both work, and then after we check them, we're going to go ahead and turn the headlights on and check everything. Okay. Both fog lights are on. Both headlights are on. Wow, what a difference. Now that we know that everything works, we can go ahead and start putting everything back together. We're going to start out with the pump underneath. So now we can go ahead and remount our pump, getting it into position. And then placing both bolts in, and we'll go ahead and tighten it down. There we go, nice and tight. Now we can move on to our next step. So now we've got all of our brand new Morimoto lights installed. Before you start putting everything back together, now would be the perfect time to aim the fog lights. So you're going to use your 5/32 Allen and insert into the bolt where we place the spring. That will give us our up and down movement. I'm not going to do that here on video because all of our Jeeps are all different. Some are lifted way high. So we're just going to go ahead and move on and start replacing all of our front grille accessories. So we'll start by placing this in first. And again, it's a bit of a bear to get in, but it should just slip right in. You're going to line up both holes and place back in both plugs. Now that that's all installed, we can go ahead and grab our front grille and reinsert our turn signals back into the grille and get that mounted. Again, I like to take my turn signals out. If you just unplug them, you'll just plug them back in, or because I took them out, place them down and turn up. Same thing on the other side. Place it in, turn up. So there is an aligning pin right in the middle of your grille. Make sure that fits in the hole, and go ahead and start pushing your grille in, making sure you hear all the clicks. And then we will replace 6 pop clips on top, pushing in as we place them. Now that our grille is all back on, we can go ahead and adjust our headlights. Again, I'm not going to do that on the video, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So you will notice that there are 2 little inserts on the inside of the grille. It'll be a T15. So you'll grab your T15. You'll want to be somewhere where it's dark and you can see where you're adjusting your level to. Adjustment is here. You're going to slowly put in your T15. You can do this with the grill off as well. And then you're going to adjust clockwise and counterclockwise depending whether you need to go up or down. So these new Morimoto Super7 headlights and 4-banger replacement fog lights are going to give me the ability to see everything on the road ahead of me. The Super7's modular design and the ability to customize it to my Jeep makes it a great option. The 83,000 candela will not only help me see better at night, but will also increase my visibility to other drivers on the road. So if you would like more information on either of these products, the Morimoto Super7 headlights or the Morimoto 4-banger fog lights, please visit us at bantamoverland.com. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and as always, have a blast out there.